We've said before many times how trusting government with the most important social functions of dispute resolution, arbitration, providing for the public's safety is so dangerous. It is so destructive. It is so contrary to the legitimate goals and hopes and wants and needs of the people to trust a violent gang of thugs known as government with these critical functions, with the resources, and what's worse, with the monopoly. When you say, government, please protect me from rapists and murderers and thieves, and you are turning to, at best, murderers and thieves, if not rapist excusers, to provide these functions, not only do they provide horribly inadequate, destructive services, but they prevent you from competing. They make it more difficult for you. And I don't mean just by taking your money and saying, well, we're allocating these resources. No, they make it illegal. They forcibly stop you from competing with their monopoly. But using the government to go after crime as an individual crime is like using cancer to go after flatulence. Yeah, get a little perspective here, people. Of all the crimes that government commits, the crimes committed by individuals are insignificant, but not a problem to be ignored. And yet, as we see from the Detroit Free Press, here's the headline: as Detroit rape kits sit untested, justice for victims is denied. Really? Think about it for a second. Nearly 5 years after the discovery of 11,000 abandoned rape evidence kits in a Detroit police warehouse sparked outrage, only about 2,000 of the kits have undergone DNA testing, allowing serial rapists to remain free and in some cases commit more attacks. All the kits are finally expected to get tested this year because the state legislature appropriated $4 million to send them to private labs. Yeah. Holy shit. Are you kidding me? It's got this is what it's come to? They're not even pretending to keep up the sham anymore. But hold on a second. How much money do you think the city of Detroit spends on law enforcement? What do you think those resources go to? Busting pot smokers? Catching all those dangerous drug dealers? Oh, going after tax evaders and code violators? To the point where they can't keep the freaking lights on in the streets, and now you have more crime as a result. Oh, but that's more of an excuse to get you dependent on government. Yeah. Fortunately, in Detroit, we see there are also community organizations that are stepping up to fill the gaps. Only now that the monopoly of law enforcement is so pitifully retreated in that city as to make that a viable alternative. As important as the DNA is, testing alone is only a part of the equation in getting justice for the hundreds of people who have been victimized and getting dangerous sexual predators off the streets. Testing on the kits has already produced. Now, this is the best part. This is really, you know what? I'm sorry. I should not have said best. This is the most disgusting part. When you turn to government for justice services, this is what you get. Testing on the kits has already produced more than 500 hits with named suspects on a national DNA database. But police and prosecutors haven't even begun to follow up on more than 150 of those leads. Now, do a little math here. Testing on 2,000 kits, 500 hits. That means they've already got these people. And I can tell you, this is from my experience in jail. I refused to take a DNA test and ended up in solitary confinement as a result, ended up having to give in after several days of torture. But no, they have DNA on record for pretty much everyone who's been arrested in the United States, or at least been processed and booked in for the last, I don't know how many years. But there's a huge database out there of people that get arrested for little things and get released. 500 hits. That means of the 2,000 tested, 1 in 4 resulted in a hit that they could charge someone with, or in a lead that they could pursue because it's tied to an individual. And 150 of them, they're just sitting out there. Oh no. What are we going to do? We're going to keep patrolling and pulling people over for speeding and swerving. We're going to do traffic stops and make sure your car is registered properly and you've paid off the state. But if you've raped someone, forget about it. No, 150 of you guys, you just rapists out on the street. We know who you are. We know where you live. We've arrested you before, but and we've got positive evidence now to link you to another rape. I mean, your DNA ends up in the wrong body. Pretty clear evidence. And yet, this is what you get when you turn to government. The reasons for the delay are varied. Only on TV crime shows can investigators get a DNA hit and rush out and charge a suspect, officials say. Oh, really? No. So this is the excuse. Oh, you think law enforcement is easy? You think it's like what you see on television? Oh, no. We are far less incompetent than any of those actors even. Yes. No. This is just like but it gets out there. This is the expectation that people have, and they should have. They should have this expectation for law enforcement, for public safety. Is that it should be at least as good as the fantasy on television where it's always the good cops going after the bad guys and, oh, you do a test in a crime lab. Yeah, and you go get the guy. As opposed to, oh, just let him go and roam and commit more rapes. Yeah, sure. In real life, and particularly in cases dating back a decade or more, as many of the thousands of discovered rape kits are, once evidence is tested, victims must be found, witnesses must be interviewed or re-interviewed, and old police files must be located or reconstructed. Oh, sorry, we let it go too long, so we're just going to have to let it go. But do you see what he's saying? If we actually did our job when we were supposed to, it would have been easier because everything would have been fresh. We could have pursued these cases. But no. Turning to government means that those resources allocated for justice and public safety will not go to serving the needs of the people. They will go to enforcement of non-crimes, for drug dealers, for drug consumers, for people who are driving without paying off the state for their bounty of their license and registration, for people who go 5 miles over the speed limit, for people looking suspicious on the street corner. Yeah, because that's what fighting crime is in the eyes of a politician who'd rather serve special interests than the people. And because you watch television, because you think that it's all hunky-dory and you can trust government, you are that much less safe as a result.
This is your last warning. Sir.
That would have been the end of it. And that would have been justice for Kelly Thomas, who might be alive today.
Perhaps not.